Right, so this may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't care. I'm going to say it anyway. I enjoyed the Willow TV series. Willow. So, I was a bit late to the party on the Willow TV series because it started in November of last year and it ended a couple of days ago now, about a week ago now actually. But I wasn't watching it weekly when it was coming out. In fact, I hate using this word, but I binged the show over the past 2 days. And honestly, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of problems. Like, the show is wildly incoherent in its storytelling. Its plotting is all over the place, and there are huge plot holes left, right, and centre in every single episode. And at the same time, though, the new characters, aren't that well drawn out. I wasn't really sure where the series was going when I was watching it, and also the acting isn't always the best. Like, I love Warwrick Davis so much. He's one of my favourite people. Whenever I see him pop up in something, I have the hugest smile on my face. I just love him. But he's not a world-class actor, and you can kind of tell in this series. And also, the direction is often quite sloppy, the dialogue is often quite clunky, and the series feels like it's trying to do so many fantasy-type things that it becomes quite suffocating with all the fancy stuff it's trying to do more often than not in the show. So the show has about 1 million problems, but I enjoyed it. And the reason I enjoyed this show is because it had a sense of joy in there. It was fun to watch. You know, none of it was really too serious. It wasn't too dark. I mean, it touched on some dark subject matter, but it wasn't too dark. And actually, I don't know, I had a smile on my face when I was watching this show, though. And I think a lot of that is down to Warwrick Davis. Like, I kind of criticised his acting just then, but he is just wonderful to watch in the show. Every single time he is on screen, I was smiling from ear to ear. Honestly, I love Warwrick Davis so much. I've got him on my t-shirt right now. You know, he played Wicket the Ewok in Return of the Jedi, and I loved him. I've loved him ever since I saw him in that. Ever since I saw him as Wicket the Ewok, well, you don't actually get to see his face, but I loved him after I knew he played that character. I also enjoyed him in the Harry Potter films. I loved him in that one episode of Extras he's in. I also really like him in Life's Too Short. I love Warwrick Davis so much, and I really enjoyed him in the original Willow film, and he's great in this show as well. And in fact, he's not really in the first episode that much. In fact, he's not really in it at all, apart from the end of the first episode, and then that's kind of the cliffhanger for episode 2, so you're meant to keep watching the show. But the thing is, though, when he was in it, that's when it was really working at its best. That's when the show was really working at its best, because the first episode, I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of. It felt like it didn't really know what it wanted to be. It felt like it was going all over the place, and much like the first episode of Welcome to Chippendales, which I reviewed yesterday on this channel, didn't expect to compare Willow to Welcome to Chippendales, but there we are. But yeah, much like Welcome to Chippendales, which I recently reviewed, you know, both first episodes of the series, I felt didn't really know what they wanted to be, and took till episode 2 for both shows to find their footing. But when you do get to episode 2 of Willow, even though it's still a bit messy, and even so the dialogue isn't really that well written, even so the show isn't really that well written, you can tell that by episode 2, I still enjoyed it though, because Willow was in it. When Willow was in the show, that's when it worked. I mean, I like all the other characters. I think they were all enjoyable to watch, all the new characters, but I wasn't in love with those characters, you know what I mean? And then when Willow came on screen, though, he was kind of the glue that made the whole show work. All the other sort of teenage characters, I mean, they're not teenagers, but they may as well be. All the other teenage characters, you know, they were squabbling throughout the show and things like that, and there's love triangles going on, and all that's fine. But then when Willow's in it, though, he's kind of like the uncle who knocks everyone's heads together, and he just makes the show work. Thank God Warwrick Davis is in it. Thank God he's in it. Because I like the new cast. I think they grew on me as the series went on. That new cast grew on me. but they grew on me because of the way they interacted with Willow. And also, I loved the production quality of the show. Like, even so, this is not a well-written show. I don't think it's particularly well planned each episode. I don't think the series overall is particularly well planned. And even though this show, like I said before, is wildly incoherent and has dialogue which is really, really clunky, I really like the production value of the show, though. Like, you're watching it and you do believe you're in this world of Willow. At least I did anyway. I liked the different worlds and the different places we got to explore. I liked seeing all the different creatures and character designs as well. Like, particularly, I think it's episode 7? Yeah, there's one creature that's in the water, and if you've seen the show, you know what creature I'm talking about, which I really liked. I really liked the design of that creature. And also, there's these sort of monkey-like creatures as well. Kind of monkey-like creatures that live in caves, and I think it's episode 6, which I really liked. And also, the scope of the show, it's a huge show as well, and you can tell that they shot a lot on location, which I really liked. I mean, apparently, they did use the volume, like, that's the sort of, you know, interactive visual set that they use when they shoot many Star Wars TV shows like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, they use it in Obi-Wan as well. They also used it when they shot the Batman, and also Thor Love and Thunder, and also, they've used it on plenty of things. Yeah, the volume, which they use a lot of Lucasfilm, they do use it in the show, and you can kind of tell in episode 7, although it looked beautiful still. But you can also tell that they shot a lot on location. Apparently they shot the show in Wales, which is where they shot the original Will, so nice little link there. And you can tell, I loved the huge settings that you see. I loved how beautiful it looked, and yeah, just watching them riding their horses through, well, the setting of the show, which is Wales, was just really beautiful in my opinion. I really liked the setting and the way everything looked. And also, I really enjoyed Christian Slater in the show. Now, that's not a spoiler, he's been publicised that he's in the show, but he's only in one episode, and I kind of wish he was in the show more. I wish they utilised that character a bit more, and not to give too much away, but I wish they didn't end the character the way they did. But I really enjoyed Christian Slater in the show. And the new cast were all good. I like seeing Joanne Whalley in there again. She was a love interest from the first Willow. And spoilers here, in case you haven't seen the Willow TV show yet, and you're dying to see it, but you just haven't got round to it. Slight spoilers here. I kind of wish Val Kilmer was in this show, though. Like, as much as I love seeing Warwick Davis back and Joanne Whalley, and I like seeing Christian Slater in there, as much as I do think that the new cast, you know, did a good job, they grew me as the series went on, I do think the show has a bit of a Val Kilmer-shaped hole. And, I mean, it kind of works that into its narrative. Not to go into too much detail, again, if you haven't seen the show, it kind of works that into its narrative. There's this whole storyline of where's Val Kilmer's character, where's Mad Mardigan, and I liked that storyline, but I wanted to see Mad Mardigan, because Val Kilmer was one of the best parts of the original Willow. Him and Warwick Davis' relationship in the original Willow was just absolutely wonderful to watch. It was an absolute delight in that film, and I wish we got that in this series. We kept kind of glimmers of it, and if you've seen the series, you know what I mean. But at the same time, though, I want to see Val Kilmer back. And I know Val Kilmer's been ill, but he was in Top Gun Maverick. He could have been in the show. I know he can't speak something like that at the moment. He can't speak properly. But they worked around that in Top Gun Maverick, and they could have worked around that in Willow. And so, yeah, if there is ever a Willow Series 2, and it hasn't been confirmed there is yet, as I'm doing this review right now, but at the same time, though, if there is a Willow Series 2, I hope Val Kilmer's in there. And, like I said before, I just enjoyed this show. It's not that good of a TV show. In fact, I was watching it and I was going, well, that doesn't really work, that's incoherent, that's messy. What's really going on here? I don't fully understand. Oh, there's magic in this show. That means that all sense of peril is lost, because whenever you introduce magic in something, I do kind of feel like if you don't set the limits of that magic that you're introducing into a show or film, then your sense of mystery and peril is kind of lost, because anything can just be resolved with magic, and there isn't really any limits set to the magic used in this show. So, yeah, it's got hundreds of problems, but I enjoyed it. And you know what? I really don't understand some people online who say this show is an absolute disaster and that it completely disappoints them and that their expectations were completely ruined and things like that. I don't understand criticism like that with the Willow TV show, because the original Willow film was never a masterpiece. I mean, I love it, but I love it because of how wonderful of a time I had watching that first film. But the thing is, though, it was never a masterpiece. It is not considered one of the best fantasy films of all time. It's not up there with the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and so I don't understand why people were expecting Lord of the Rings, level fantasy entertainment with this show. Neither do I really understand why people were expecting Game of Thrones / House of the Dragon sort of fantasy level entertainment with the show as well. And I don't get that, because the original Willow film was never a masterpiece, like I already said. It's not that good of a film. I like it, but it's got a lot of problems, much like the show. And so at the same time, though, I was fine with the fact that this show had a lot of problems, and I was fine with the fact that it wasn't Game of Thrones level entertainment, or at least Game of Thrones seasons 1 to 7 level entertainment, not Game of Thrones season 8, because that was absolute pants. And in fact, I had more fun watching the Willow TV show than I did Game of Thrones season 8. There you go. That is something I didn't expect to say. Then anyway, yes, I don't understand why people are expecting Game of Thrones level entertainment. I just don't get that. And also, there's these really annoying YouTubers online who say they dislike the show because it's woke. Willow is woke because it has Disney princesses and female protagonists and it's got a lesbian relationship there. That's not woke. It's not forced as well, the lesbian relationship. In fact, it's worked into the narrative rather well. I have problems with the way the show is written. I do. But that is not one of my problems. In fact, I thought that relationship between the two female leads, or two of the main female characters in the show, was really well intertwined into the narrative. That was actually one of the best written parts of the show, in my opinion. So this show isn't woke, and that's not a criticism. So all these people who say Willow is woke, I've got 2 words for you. Fuck off. And I should say, by the way, if you didn't enjoy the Willow show, then that's absolutely fine. If it just wasn't for you, you don't really like fantasy, and you watched it and you just thought the writing wasn't the best, and you just didn't really get along with it, you didn't get into it, then that's absolutely fine. I just don't like people who criticise shows and films because they're woke. That is my least favourite word in the English language. But anyway, going back onto the Willow TV show. And also, the show continues its cult status. Like, the first movie is a cult film. It's not wildly beloved, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's not a beloved film. But at the same time, though, it does have a cult following. And I could see this show having a cult following as well. In fact, I looked on Twitter last night and I saw loads of love for this show, which was really surprising because I hadn't heard many good things about it when it was coming out. I hadn't heard many people raving about it. In fact, many of the YouTubers I did watch didn't really get along with it, and that's fine. Their criticisms were fair. I just hadn't heard that many good things about the show, and it wasn't wildly publicised. Not many people were talking about the episodes, even though they're coming out weekly. But at the same time, though, last night when I finished the show, I looked up online, and this show does have a following. It does have an audience, and I like that it did, because even so it didn't reach a wide audience, say like Mandalorian did, or say like Andor did as well, it still got a certain audience. It still reached an audience, and I'm part of that audience. I enjoyed the show, and I enjoyed it because it was fun. It had a sense of joy to it. I felt like I was going on these adventures with these characters, and sure, I wanted to be more immersive, but I just liked watching it. I can't really explain why I liked it, but I did like it, and I think the main reason I can think of why I liked the Willow TV show is because of Willow, is because of Warwick Davis as Willow. And also, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that the show, I mean, I've briefly mentioned it already, but the show does copy, and sometimes directly, it does copy a lot of other fantasy films and TV shows. But I actually kind of like that. There's one episode in particular which takes a lot of the first two Hobbit films, and I'm someone who loves the Hobbit trilogy, so I was watching that with a huge grin on my face. And also, there's often needle drops used in the show as well, where basically, like a famous song is used. And often at the end of each episode, it will end with a needle drop. And I also like that. I mean, I didn't think it was good the way they did that, because I think it actually takes you out of the show. It takes you out of the fantasy element when you hear a song like Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys, which I think is used at the end of episode 6. It's like, oh, that's taking me out of the fantasy of it all, the fantasy of the show. But at the same time, though, I still kind of like that, though. And I really hope this show gets a series 2 and 3. I hope they just renew the show for series 2 and 3, give the fans what they want, because there are people who have enjoyed the show, me included, and I want to see where it goes. I want to see Val Kilmer back. I want to see where these characters' stories go. I want to see where the main story goes, because I'm still not really sure where it's going, but I'm fine with that, because I just want to see another series, or another 2 series, because that's what implied by the post-credit scene of the entire show. Slight spoilers there, but not really anything in particular. I'm not really giving any plot points, but they implied that there's going to be 2 more series of the show, and if there is, then I'd be overjoyed, because I found this show delightful. I liked it, and I can understand why people wouldn't. It's not well written. It's incoherent. The acting isn't the best. The characters aren't the best. The story is all over the place, and it's trying to include so many fancy elements, and sometimes it does feel suffocating. But I did enjoy it because it had a sense of joy in there. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that the Willow TV show, I'm going to say that it's a 7 out of 10. I've given it a 7 out of 10 there, just because of the amount of fun I had with it. And, I'm someone which would normally really dislike something like this. Something which has so many plot holes. Like, it really does. You're watching each episode and going, what? I don't understand what's really going on. Why is this story going there? What's his character really doing? I don't really understand what's going on with that character. And like I said before, it does feel suffocating. And I've got so many problems with it. But I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed this show. And I got to the end of the series, and you know what? I felt a bit sad that it was over, because there hasn't been a second series confirmed yet. And even when the second series is confirmed, if it is, then, we're going to have to wait until probably 2024 to see it, which is a bit of a shame, because I want to see it now. I just want to see where the story goes. I wish they made all 3 series together, because then, it couldn't just... It's out there for the audience, they can watch it, and it's not going to have to worry about potentially getting renewed. Because I'm a bit worried that it won't get renewed, because it's not going to reach a wide audience. I mean, that's already been proven anyway by the reception that the show has gotten. It hasn't reached a wide audience, and some of the people who have seen it have criticised it, and it didn't get the love that I think the filmmakers behind the show hoped it would get. But there are people out there, though, and what's his name? Jonathan Kasdan, I think that's the person's name who wrote the show. I think it is, I might be wrong there. He did come out and say, I was a bit upset by the initial reception, but I've been happy over time, though, with how the audience have taken to the show. And so I do hope that the audience that I'm included in, who did end up enjoying the show, make it so that second series does happen, if you get what I mean there. I'm not really sure how much of the review is making sense, I've got to admit, because I've got a really bad headache right now. So I'm going to round things off. I enjoyed Willow because I had a sense of joy in there. There's things that were missing, there's problems I had, a huge array of problems I had, but I liked it. I liked the scope of the show. I liked the music as well by James Newton Howard. I also liked the needle drops in there, which usually I wouldn't, but I did. And I think that the main reason I enjoyed the show was thanks to Warwick Davis as well. Because even so, Warwick Davis isn't the best actor in the world, I just enjoy watching him so much, because every single time he was on screen, he brought a huge smile to my face, and watching him interact with all the new characters was the glue that made the show work for me. And yeah, that's why I liked Willow. It's by no means brilliant, it's not even that good, but I liked it. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Willow, I'm going to say that it's a 7 out of 10 for me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Willow? Please you comment down below, I'll know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please you click down below and like, subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more, both film and TV reviews and podcasts coming very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!